and welcome to Comcast NewsMakers. I'm Erin Muffaletto, your New Mexico host, and we're in Santa Fe, New Mexico today, next door to the Santa Fe Roundhouse. Today we have Representative Patricia Roybal Caballero. Did I say that right?
Roybal Caballero.
Caballero. I got to learn to roll.
Yay, got it. Got it.
Well, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I know it's been a really busy legislative session. What type of legislation have you been following?
Well, I've been really interested in the legislation that was proposed that was misnamed, Right to Work. Actually, I like to prefer to refer to it as Ready to Work. And so that's been one that I've been very interested in. Obviously, for a lot of obvious reasons, that we have a tremendous workforce ready to work. We just need to provide the right incentives in order for us to be able to create the jobs. Right. And then we have to have a prepared workforce, so we need to continuously work on increasing the skills so that our workforce is ready to work at all times. And so that whole discussion of right to work was just a crazy discussion, and one that sort of missed the point. And I think we needed to focus a little bit more on jobs and job creations and getting our workforce ready. So that was interesting, and that was really a principal one for me.
So what are some pieces of legislation that you're supporting that would help business?
Well, related to this, I introduced a while back a memorial that would look at exactly where we needed to improve our skills in our workforce. Where we needed to fill the gaps in order to prepare our workforce for the job creation that we have been very supportive of.
Right.
And so that study, the idea was to study those needs so that we could put the proper programs in place and work with the community colleges and the universities to improve those skills. And it was meant to look at and help increase apprenticeships, because I firmly believe that if we begin at an early age, even high school, to place our future workers in the areas and fields that they are interested in from the very beginning as an apprentice, then I think we begin to really look at creating sustainable opportunities for both the businesses and for the employees.
Right. And speaking of the employees, so there's been some legislation for minimum wage increases.
Yes.
Has anything passed yet, or
unfortunately,
what's happening with those?
You know, unfortunately, our state became a little gridlocked. It's much like Congress has become gridlocked on a lot of these, what I call the burning issues of the day. Having livable wages, for me, is extremely important. So the discussion isn't really about minimum. We're already at minimum, and we have employees that are earning minimum but still need subsidies in order for them to get through day-to-day living. And so for me, it's about, the discussion is very connected between the educational attainment and economic attainment. But we want to be able to give people livable wages, wages in which they don't have to rely on government subsidies, which actually, by not having the degree of government subsidy, reduces the amount of money that government has to be putting out, and we can create or add to the revenue stream to do the kinds of things that we need to do to attract businesses and future employers. So the gridlock has been the uncomfortable part that we've been faced with. I think had we not been gridlocked, I think we would have been able to get into a very gainful discussion concerning livable wages, and we would have been able to represent back to our constituents, which is our constituents are concerned about minimum wage, being able to work. They want to work. So they're very concerned about jobs. They're very concerned about education. They're very concerned about being able to earn money to be able to pay for their just day-to-day and still have money to save.
So where do you see minimum wage legislation going in the future?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, we're going to continue to resonate and bring up every single legislative session the issue of minimum wage until we get to the point where we have viable discussions concerning what is a livable wage. If we look at history, according to the federal laws, we would have already been at a minimum wage, and that minimum wage could have been anywhere from $14 to $19. So we've fallen way behind on that discussion. But minimum wage has to be a discussion balanced with education as
Right.
well. And so as we're discussing that cycle of missed opportunities, we need to begin to talk about creating a new cycle of opportunities that are interconnected, and that's the education and the economic viability of our future.
Right. And we have about a minute left, so I just want to ask you, how did you get into politics?
Well, I've actually been an advocate and an activist all my life. I'm a community economic developer. I've been a manager of nonprofits, and I've also been involved in a number of community organizations throughout my 40-plus years. So the timing was right, and I always have been a public advocate, and I've pushed for policy change, and so this just seemed as a natural transition, and so I decided to go back to school and get my PhD, and at the same time I retired, and this was a perfect timing.
Wow.
I had the knowledge and the skills and the experience and the time,
Yeah.
which is really a great combination to be able to give back to public service.
Well, thank you for all you do. You do so much for this state, and we all appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for having us, and thank you to all the public who pay attention to your programming and hopefully will increase our viewership.
Yes, well, thank you, and we'll see you next time. From Comcast New Mexico, Comcast NewsMakers New Mexico, we'll see you next time. Thank you.